start out, of course, is the news. And, of course, I get that from blabbermouth.net, like usual. So I'm going to read these news articles or these news headlines. And some of them I will comment on, some of them I won't. But that's the usual thing that I do with this podcast, of course. But anyways, so let's start. Dave Ellefson, bands like Lamb of God really helped reset thrash metal. Well, I don't know if you would define them as thrash metal, honestly. I'm not a big fan, but I'm not I'm not a hater either, but yeah. I mean, it's a modern band that, it's a lot of more mainstream, but like not super mainstream people like. They're okay. I don't hate them. I don't really like them that much, but kind of stuff that I can listen to like 3 songs on an album and then, turn it off after that. But they have some good licks and stuff. This is not one of my favorite bands, but obviously that's a given. Max Cavalera and Sepultura Union. At this moment, I don't need anything like that. Well, they've had 2 separate careers, him and the former Sepultura, band or whatever. So I understand that. Megadeth's cover version of Judas Priest Delivering the Goods, now available at all streaming platforms. Okay. I'm not really, I'm just going to have to say I'm not super impressed by Megadeth covers of other bands. I don't know what it is, but I'm just not super impressed. But it's cool, But it's hard for him to sing Judas Priest because he's, doesn't have that vocal range that Rob Halford does. But anyways, I'm not trying to be a hater. Dave Mustaine and Scott Stapp's performances at Rock to Remember concert to be streamed tonight. Rock to Remember. Okay. Oh, it's like a veteran thing. So, let's see. Y&T frontman Dave Meniketti is total remission after prostate cancer. Well, that's good. I hope everything goes okay. See Ozzy Osbourne in commercial for PlayStation VR 2 virtual reality headset. Well, I'm not going to watch that because I don't care. Anthrax's Frank recalls waking up in someone else's blood. That's kind of an interesting story. Lamb of God's bassist John Campbell, why I play with a pick. Well, I like bands or bassists that play without a pick better, but there are a lot of good bassists that play with a pick. Steve Vai says he recorded a whole album with Ozzy Osbourne. Well, why don't we get to hear it? But of course, knowing how controlled that corporation is, we might not ever get to hear it, or maybe years later. I'd love to hear that, though. That sounds like an interesting combination. Gene Hoglan remembers Chuck Schuldiner. He was not a big fan of people or the music industry, but he liked his friends. That's cool. Steel Panther on... I don't care. I'm just trying to find more stuff. Let's see. All right. Glenn Hughes could celebrate 50th anniversary of Deep Purple's Burn, Violence, Iron Allies. Let's see. Anthrax's Joey Belladonna. You can't get down with lead singers lip syncing during concerts. I can't either. Not at all. It's terrible. Mike Portnoy, you don't really need a record label to get your music out there. That is true. But you do need talent and people to listen, of course. Arch Enemy's Michael Amott says metal should be underground. I don't want it in the mainstream. Isn't that kind of a little bit contradictory, though, for some of their moves in their career? Don't get me wrong, I like Arch Enemy, but it's a little bit, it's like some of those photo sessions, with their singers and stuff. I don't know. I do like Arch Enemy. Hate me if you want. Max Cavalera, I don't really think it's Pantera without the brothers. Oh, interesting. Well, it's too late for that, I guess. But watch the Halo Effect. Oh, that's cool. I like the Halo Effect. They're okay. I don't care. Ooh, okay, here is something it's not. When I say I don't care, it's just like something that's not really that interesting. It's like not necessarily that I don't like the band or something. By the way, I've already said that a million times. But watch George Lynch rejoins Dokken on stage in Waterloo, New York. Well, if there's a way to mute a certain instrument from that, a certain instrument that does not require an actual physical instrument, I'd probably watch it, but, that's not something I want to see. Unfortunately, I just do not understand what's going on with this whole, like, singers that are just continuing to put themselves out there just because, I don't know, it's just like, if you can't do it, just don't do it anymore. I'm sorry, it's sad to say, but it's the truth. That's just my opinion about any of those singers. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Just got to tell the truth sometimes. You have to tell the truth. If you can't hack it live, then don't do it. Do something else. Do something. I mean, you could do something musical still. You could like sing. I mean, the way that he does it, that Don Dokken does it live, it's bad. I'm sorry. I guess I'll never interview Don Dokken, but whatever. I love Dokken. They're one of my favorite bands, actually, and George Lynch is one of my favorite guitarists. But I just, if it's over, it's over. Sorry. If it's over in a certain way, like you can, maybe he could sing some kind of acoustic thing or, do something different with a musical style for his lower range and stuff. But it doesn't really even try, it seems like. Watch Nina Strauss, let's see, Motley Crue, John 5, yeah, Speaking of bands that should be, this is very controversial. Speaking of bands that should retire after they promised to retire but didn't because they want to make money. Anyways, Machine Head, Shannon Larkin, watch the Megadeth, Dave Mustaine, and Kiko Loureiro train jiu-jitsu before Tulsa Show of Metal Tour of the Year. Interesting. Exhorder commences recording new album. Well, I think Exhorder is a great band. I'm sad that they don't have their original guitarist anymore, but whatever. Steel Panther, another Steel Panther. The band. Okay, so like speaking of bands that are retiring, it looks like Foreigner are, and Kelly Hansen says, "I'm going to the upper limits of my ability night after night." Well, if you can't do it anymore, then bow out gracefully. But people don't do that. They just want to keep the machine rolling. Speaking of that, Kiss's Paul Stanley recalls meeting Raquel Welch. She was stunning and strong in her opinions. Dave Ellefson reunites with early Megadeth guitarist Greg Handevitt for Jump in the Fire performance in Minneapolis. I'm going to get to that in a moment here. Actually, yeah, that's what this episode's about, actually. We're going to talk about that project that Dave Ellefson is in just a few moments. The Used shares People Are Vomit single announces new album Toxic Positivity. I have never heard The Used, but that's pretty funny. It's like Slipknot has a song called People is Equal Shit or whatever. It's like, okay, whatever. Misanthropy's cool, man, when you're like 56 years old in a band. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not sorry. Why did I apologize? Now, this is some sad news for real. Like, I'm not joking. Former Running Wild guitarist Michael Magic Moti Cooper, dead at 65. Running Wild is a great band. The albums he was on as the second guitarist, to rock and roll, like Under Jolly Roger or Death or Glory, classic power metal albums. Great guitarist. Rest in peace. Riley's LA Guns. Okay. I'm not going to mention anything with LA Gun. More than one band around that's calling themselves the same name. I'm not going to ever. That's a band. There's a band from both interviewing them or mentioning them on this podcast. Disturbed. Ace Frehley. I saw him live. Actually, it was pretty good. Jeff Lepper's Joe Elliott doesn't believe including 3-minute brand new songs and 90-minute set is overindulgent. Why would it be overindulgent? Iron Maiden's overindulgent when they do a whole album. live, a new album. But that's their choice, you know. Twisted Sister's JJ French doesn't begrudge bands who use backing tracks during live shows. Well, I do. It depends on the backing track, of course. Stephen Piercy, Rat would have been perfect for the stadium tour with Motley Crue and Def Leppard. It probably would have been. Korn, yeah. I don't even know what that is, but anyways. Fear Factory reveal identity of new singer next week. It's Devin Townsend. No, I'm just kidding. I like Devin Townsend. More Kings of Thrash, which I'll be talking about in a moment. Mastodon, new song, Kill Devil Hill, new record label, Periphery, Brian May, Last in Line, blah, blah, blah. I want to find something else. No, I'm not going to talk about that. Megadeth with Marty Friedman. Skid Row to release new live album this year. Well, I'm an Eric Gronwall fanboy, especially for Heat. As strange as that sounds. I'll probably buy it just for that, because I like his voice. I don't really like the new Skid Row all that much. It's okay. I mean, it is what it is, but I don't know if I dislike that or the new Heat more. I think I probably dislike, I think I dislike I'm not a big Skid Row fan, but, I never was. But I do like some of their classic stuff. It's okay. It's decent. But it's worth hearing his voice because we thought he was going to retire. Judas Priest, Rob Halford says Iron Maiden's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nomination is absolutely overdue. I beg to differ. I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a piece of shit, pile of shit. Should be burned down to the ground. I think the Sex Pistols had the right idea by boycotting the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when they were nominated. That was awesome. I just hate the establishment. Jolyn Turner blasts lip-syncing lead vocalist. You're cheating yourself and you're cheating the audience. Agreed. Jolyn Turner is great. Brett Michaels, salute to Poison. I don't even know what that is. Oh, that must be like him doing Poison songs without the band Poison. Metallica's Saint Anger. Nah, I'm not going to talk about that. Controversial. Steve Vai says the solos on Daily Ross Skyscraper were taken from original demos. Okay. Deicide. Signs record deal for long-awaited new album. Cool. Geezer Butler, Foo Fighters, Sleep Token, never heard of him. Deep Purple, Foreigner, Lou Gramm with doing Foreigner. Might have to check that out. Corey Taylor, Tesla, Alter Bridge, anything, yeah. Here's an interesting controversial one. Jeff Young says Dave Mustaine can't play or sing some of the early Megadeth material anymore. Now, I think he can probably play it just fine, but sing might be a different matter, of course. The Raven Age featuring Iron Maiden's son. I don't care about nepotism. Sorry. November Rain, blah, blah, blah. Control Denied. Oh, because this is another sad loss, actually. Control Denied and Pharaoh. I actually did like Pharaoh. I have one of their albums. Vocalist Tim Amar, dead at 59. Wow, that's messed up. I don't know how. I would have to read how he died. Yeah. Disturbed. Okay. Challenges of pandemic era touring. I thought it was over. Okay, here's pretty funny. This is pretty funny. Megadeth, Dave Mustaine, and Metallica. Why won't those guys play with us? What are they afraid of? I don't know. But we'll get to that in a moment. Like I said, I have a lot to say about last night's concert I went to. A replacement concert for Pantera. I hated what was going on with that. It was really stupid. Them being banned from places in Germany and stuff. Richie Sambora, Bon Jovi reunion. Well, I don't think Richie Sambora can save Bon Jovi. In fact, I would have to say, I used to be deny that I liked Bon Jovi, but I liked the first 3 albums. I admit it. I'll open up and say that. 20, 30 years ago, if you said you liked Bon Jovi, you were scorned. But now it's whatever. First 3 albums, great. Great AOR, cheesy commercial hard rock, whatever you want to call it, of the 80s, AOR. But he's not going to say Bon Jovi. He sounded better on his own, like with his guitarist wife or whatever. I forgot her name. I think she's with the LA Guns guys, or is that the same? I don't even know. Out of it a little bit about that. I don't care. Like, I have to know every little nuance about Bon, the history of Bon fucking Jovi. Gary Holt and Charlie Benante praise Metallica's flawless master of puppets. I like Ride the Lightning better. I'll just say it. Typo Negative releases a video. Wow. Typo Negative, we're done. I like Typo Negative, by the way. What is that? Oh, that doesn't look good. Or more equipment from Zach Wilde. Nickelback's Chad Kroger, whatever. All the haters are responsible for band's longevity. Okay. Well, that probably, you love to hate something. They don't keep it, in the press. Striper, whatever. Steel Panther giving Motley Crue a compliment. That's pretty funny, actually, because knowing the history of that. Dave Ellefson, a new Metallica album is like a new iPhone launch. It's pretty much awesome. What? It's just so hokey, that headline. Oh, my God. Let's see. Anything else that I want to talk about? Well, here's one thing I want to talk about, and this is something that I'm really torn on because, financially, I don't know if I can do this, and logistically, too, in some ways. Emperor announced his first U.S. tour in over 15 years. Now, I've always wanted to see Emperor. The whole story with that and could be better discussed another time, but I missed Emperor, essentially, and I wanted to see them for, since I got into them. But the tickets are like over $200 to go to, Chicago and stuff, but I may see what happens. I really want to see Emperor. Ghost and Amon Amarth. That's an interesting combo. I like these combos that aren't like they're weird, but they're not totally weird. Like it sort of makes sense, but it sort of doesn't. It's like this perfect balance. Disturbed's David Draymond explains why he would never use his platform to push for one political candidate or another in elections. Well, he does. He does push against anybody that's a Palestinian. Any Palestinian politician he would go against. So, I'm sorry. I just had to say that. Say what you will about me. Scorpion's Claws, Maine. Stephen Piercy on lip syncing. I think it's bullshit. Yeah, I do too. Wouldn't it be funny though if we found out like all these singers that say it's bullshit, like, or hate lip syncing, actually lip synced more than the people that were accused? Wouldn't that be ironic? In Flames. Dragon Force, yeah. Journey. Oh, okay. So this is something I did like a YouTube video on. Or did I do a YouTube video? Okay. Well, I didn't talk about this. This is a comment on this whole thing about X Japan, one of my favorite bands. And Yoshiki, the drummer, he has a new band called The Last Rock Stars, and it's like the most poppy, like modern crap you can ever hear. I think he's nuts for obsessing about fame in the West. I think he, X Japan, we got to be famous in America. Oh my God, let's get famous. And this is kind of the opposite of what I'm going to say about a band coming up in a moment. And it kind of seems contradictory, but I think they focus way too much on that. And it's like they should have like tried to adopt the power metal thing and, go and like walk in and, do like European festivals and stuff, X Japan, but they're always so American centric, and they're a Japanese band that they're just so obsessed. He was so obsessed with making it in the United States that he neglected to like make it other than like Asia and, have a cult following in places in the United States. I think it's incredibly stupid and foolish. Oh my God, I'm such an asshole. But anyways, I just think it was foolish to like obsess with that. I don't think it was stupid. I just think it was foolish. Because if you want to be famous, this is not the way to do it, okay? This Last Rock Stars band was just, ugh. it just sounds like I think there's auto tune and stuff, and I can't remember. But I listened to a little bit of it. I just turned it off. It was terrible. It was terrible. I'm just gonna say it right out. I may regret saying this but whatever. Man, speaking of bands that should have been, actually, I think the opposite. They should have focused on the United States more. Is Mattowarrior. Mattowarrior's Joy DeMaio can't wait to get to court in band's dispute with Hellfest organizers. That picture of him on Blabbermouth. It's one of the funniest things ever. He looks like he was like, I don't know what's going on with that face. It just looks really funny. I don't know. I'm being an asshole today. Forgive me. I love X Japan. You know, I hope the last rock stars make it. You know, I mean, I hope they're able to get the fame that Yoshiki is wanted in the United States, and you know, and the thing that makes me mad about X Japan is that they're not like as well respected in the metal community as they are like the anime community and stuff like that. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. They're like one of my favorite bands. I love Art of Life and what's the other album? Jealousy or Silent Jealousy? No, it's Jealousy. Yeah, those are two great albums. Blue Blood is great. Their early demos are great. They even had a blast beat on this old demo. Like it was one of the first blast beats in like a power or thrash metal band. Like it wasn't grindcore, but it was a blast beat in like a non-grindcore band is what I mean. So anyways, I hope he forgives me for saying that. I just think it's a fool's errand tried to placate an audience that your music doesn't really fit in the first place, but it did fit another thing. That's what I'm trying to say. It fit into the European power metal thing more than American hard rock thing. I mean, I think Wes Borland toured with X Japan. Like, what are you trying to say or do? You should have like the guy from Sonata Arctica or something play with your band, you know, or something like that. Wes Borland. It's like some guy from Guns N' Roses. It's just like, I don't get it. I don't get his whole like obsession with the like America, like getting big in America. It's like he's ignoring like the very audience, the very people that would have, welcomed him with open arms, welcomed that band. Like by focusing more on Europe and the European power metal thing, then he would have gotten big in America, you know. But like, it's like I know Blind Guardian isn't like in the top 10 of U.S. charts, but you know he could have played Prog Power or something. X Japan could have reunited and played Prog Power or something. I guess they're too up. I don't know. I think they're kind of too up their own ass to do that. Too pretentious in a way. That's why they don't release. I dare him right now. Okay. Release a new X Japan album. You have plenty of songs recorded. Why not do that? You've been talking about that for years. You're worse than Guns N' Roses, John Sykes, and Guns N' Roses before Chinese Democracy. John Sykes or Andrew Eldritch. It's like you're holding. You're misleading people, just releasing all these greatest hits things. It's a gripe. I'm sorry. You know, if I didn't love the band so much, I wouldn't be saying that. But his dreams are futile. He's already one of the most. They're one of the best-selling musicians in the world. It just happens to be mostly Asia. But I love X Japan, so whatever. Sorry. I guess I'll never interview X Japan either. Don Dokken and X Japan will never come on my podcast. Oh, well. Maybe they won't hear this episode, maybe down the road. Who knows? But I like X Japan a lot. That's one of my favorite bands. Queensryche singer and longtime cigarette smoker Todd Latour haven't had a cigarette in over 1 month. Well, that's congratulations. I just had to laugh. I don't know why. I was just thinking about X Japan again. Violence confirms Perry Strickland's departure. Blah 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 blah. Okay, here we go. Mattowarrior releases new song, loud and hard and strong and fast, dedicated to the band's loyal German fans. Now, I listened to this song. I'm going to give my critique on this because I have some controversial opinions about Mattowarrior as well because of an infamous YouTube video that you could probably put the two and two together. It has like 10,000 views or 20. I don't remember how many views it has. But it sounds like it's going through the motions. Now I'm going to give it some positive spin. Is that the production is far superior to the last at least their last full length album. Michelangelo Badio, who I like a lot, actually. He's the guitarist now, which is very interesting. But the lyrics to the song are really funny because it's like this defense mechanism kind of stuff. Lyrics like, "You hate me, I don't care," or whatever. I don't remember the lyric, but it was really funny. I was laughing. But Mattowarrior laughed at, but it's like it's whatever. I love Mattowarrior. By the way, I love Mattowarrior. I have a tattoo of Mattowarrior. But people think I hate Mattowarrior because I hate on modern decisions that they make. But that's the way it goes. Maybe by the time I'm that age, I'll make bad decisions too. So, oh well. Let's see. Anything else that I want to talk about on this page? God. Let's see. People seem to like this commentary. It's fine. I kind of like it. I don't know. So, I'm trying to. Oh, Megadeth's getting sued. Okay. Anything else that I want to talk about? Looking. Voivod, awesome. Skinny Puppy, not exactly a metal band, but awesome band. They were great live, killer live. Tim Ripper Owens, when people say I can't sing, they need to open their fucking ears. Okay. Well, the thing is, I have a very mixed opinion of Tim Ripper Owens' voice. But mainly it's the material. It's the material that he sings in front of that is really at the core of that. I thought Winter's Bane was okay. I did not like him in Priest. I think the songwriting was the problem with Priest with him. And it wasn't his fault. It's like Blaze Bayley, it's like you can't blame these singers necessarily for the decisions the main members of the band are making. I really did like him. I liked him a lot in Yngwie Malmsteen's band. And I didn't like, I thought he was okay in Iced Earth. It was a commercial with Paul Stanley, blah, blah, blah. Ministry. Sisters of Mercy are on tour. Another situation like Emperor. Not as bad, though, with ticket prices. I don't know if I'm going to see him. I've wanted to see Sisters of Mercy for a long time, by the way. I'm in a little goth phase. I'm surprised they're on Blabbermouth, though. I don't know if that's like their primary audience, but anyways. Okay, we're going to get to the actual discussion on this podcast, and that is the last night's incredible show that I saw with Kings of Thrash, which is a band that has Dave Ellefson, Jeff Young, forgot the singer guitarist's name and the drummer. I don't know their names. I could look them up really quick, but I'm not going to right now. But I think one of them's name is Chase, or what is his name? I'd have to look it up. But anyways, I was gonna just I haven't read an awful lot about them. I just know that they were going to be doing these 2 albums by Megadeth, and I was like, count me in, because Chris Poland was supposed to be touring with them as well. I guess he wasn't, but just to forewarn anybody that's interested in going to the show, Chris Poland's not on this tour. He was in a lot of their earlier shows. Now that said, I'm gonna be a little hyperbolic here, but I'm gonna say it was the best show. It was the best time. If this makes any sense, it's best Megadeth or Megadeth related show I've been to ever. That sounds pretty crazy, but it's the truth. So just about the show, I went and there was a band by the name of Hatriot, which is Steve Sueza's band from Exodus, From Exodus. I think he was in Testament too early on, but anyways, he's with Exodus again, so he gave the reins to his son, who also plays bass. Very good band. Very, very somewhat technical, tight thrash band. Very good performance. Some of the sound was not as good as it could be. It was a little, some of the guitars you couldn't hear at times, but overall that's a lot of opening bands have that problem, because that's the way. That's just a tradition, I guess. I'm not blaming Kings of Thrash. I'm just saying. So it could have just been, I don't know, my position at the venue. But then I went up to the front of the venue for Kings of Thrash, and that was incredible. So If people don't know what Kings of Thrash are, it's a band that has two members that are like, much younger guys. One on drums and one on guitar/vocals, who basically serves as kind of the Dave Mustaine of the band. I guess he was in a Megadeth tribute band, and I guess he's in a Soundgarden one. He does look a little like Chris Cornell, funnily enough. And you have Dave Ellefson. Now, I'm not going to talk about the controversy with Dave Ellefson. All I got to say is that in our modern society, how things have been the last few years, this is not political commentary. It's just more sociological commentary. I doubt if he did anything that was that bad, he would have gotten away with it. I'm just saying, like, in this modern society that we're in, with all this stuff happening, with all these accusations going against people, if there was smoke or if there was fire, there would have been more smoke or vice, whatever. That's just my opinion about it. You can beg to differ. You could say bad things about Dave Ellefson and what he did, and Dave Mustaine couldn't stand the heat, so he fired him, which I thought was a huge mistake in my personal opinion, because I just think of Megadeth as the two Daves. That's how it has always been to me. So when he got fired, I was pretty mad. Just for this thing with this, much younger woman or whatever online or whatever, the Wankgate or whatever they called it. I thought it was stupid. And there were accusations made that were debunked, and that the police got involved, and they, didn't find any evidence that anything. I mean, that doesn't mean he doesn't have sway or couldn't get out of some kind of accusations, but it's hard. My point is, it's very hard to get out of those types of accusations nowadays compared to how it was even. And I'm not going to talk about like what I think of Me Too and all that stuff, because it's very complicated things that I'm discussing. I'm not going to discuss on this podcast, but I'm just saying that I don't hold whatever happened against Dave Ellefson, and it could prove me opposite one day. Maybe something will happen. I don't know. But for the most part, I don't believe it. So anyways, that said, the other guitarist of the band, the lead guitar, more lead guitarist, is Jeff Young, who is on So Far, So Good, So What. And that, to me, is the most underrated Megadeth album. One of my favorites. In fact, it was one of the first albums I bought, period. It was a record, a vinyl version of that. I think it was a cutout, but this is not a metal town, so of course a lot of metal albums were cutouts in this town. People rather listen to their snotty alternative music in this town. Anyways, I still hear it. But metal is pretty dead by that. Well, it wasn't dead by that time, but it was dying out by that time, or starting to fade a little bit. Even I bought it only 2 years after it came out, though, or a year after it came out. So I'm just giving you a little timeline. So I actually seem to remember when I bought that record, I actually went to a movie. It was one of the first movies I went to alone when I was a kid. I just decided to go. And I saw a Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase. I saw it in the theater. I think it was the same day I bought the record. I think I had the record with me. It's kind of funny story. But I loved that album, though. I was obsessed. I loved it. I thought it was one of the best Megadeth albums ever. I only had Peace Cells at the time. I bought Peace Cells on tape, used, and I loved Peace Cells. But So Far, So Good, So What was awesome. It had like more of a European kind of vibe maybe than Peace Cells did even. Like it had more like, I'm not going to say classical, but kind of classic metal kind of vibe some of the time. So as far as that album, it was just, to me, it was gold. I even, at this point, like I listened to it more than Rust in Peace pretty much. I mean, I like Rust in Peace, but to me, it was like Somewhere in Time with Iron Maiden. It's like the band doesn't acknowledge it as much as they should, and stuff like that. Of course, that's changing with Iron Maiden because they're going to tour on. They're going to finally tour with some Somewhere in Time stuff for the first time in years. But yeah, I really loved that album, and it was a formative album for me growing up. So when they announced they were going to do this tour, I was like, yeah, I'm there, you know. And then a bonus thing is that they're doing Killing Is My Business all the way through as well. Now, I would dare say Dave Mustaine is kind of looks down, pun unintended, at some of the lyrics from the especially, I think he doesn't do Anarchy in the UK because of the word Antichrist, because he's, you know, kind of a Christian or whatever Christian now. So I think he probably even is worse on Killing Is My Business, because Killing Is My Business is like, maybe not satanic, but way more critical of, you know, way more occult than later Megadeth in many ways. So I was excited, so I went there, and you know, they started the show. One thing that disappointed me is they didn't do the ink spots, Set the World on Fire or whatever song in the beginning of Set the World Afire. That was the only disappointing part of the first part of the show, because I would have loved to hear that. I think it's a great intro for a song. It's like this old like 40s or 50s song or whatever that they used. That's on So Far So Good So What, like a little clip of it in the beginning of Set the World on Fire. And they didn't play that, which was, yeah, I was a little disappointed. They came out, it was just heavy as hell. It was really intense. Now, Jeff Young was having some problems in the beginning because he had bought this guitar. It was like, what the hell is this huge, like, I don't think it's a BC Rich, but it was a neck-through guitar. If you don't know what a neck-through guitar is, it's like a guitar that is like, they build the body around the neck. It's not a set neck like a Gibson. They glue the neck on, but it's not like a, you know, like a bolt-on neck either. So there was a lot of feedback with the guitar. And he was really loud. He was playing like this sort of Marshall-y kind of amp, I'll just say, like old school amp. It was super loud. I think he was louder than the other guitarists, but it was feedbacking a lot. But that was the only. It was kind of funny actually. But it was. I don't mean that in a mean way, but it was like, wow, this is just like so raw and intense. Like it made it better that there were like a little bit of a technical hiccup, because it's like. This is like seeing Megadeth in a club, you know, back in the day. Like there's this famous early gig of theirs with Kerry King that's on YouTube, and it was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. It's because they played a couple of on that show. They were playing stuff that would be on later albums, mainly Killing Is My Business, but there's a little bit of even some So Far So Good So What, because they play Set the World Afire. So. That show was incredible. I'd highly recommend watching like the early Megadeth shows before they were signed. It was just, there's something about that energy that they had that was just insane. I dare say it does rival Metallica early stuff. So it's actually probably better than, I mean, I love Metallica, and I love like the Metal Hammer Festival is like one of my favorite things they ever did, that performance. But this that early Megadeth stuff is just, it's incredible. A different drummer too, I forgot, it was Lee Rausch or whatever. So that was even before Chris Poland joined. Dave did most of the solos, if not all of the solos, I think. So this was kind of like that. This was kind of like that kind of energy was brought back, because, you know, I think a band. I'm not saying Megadeth lost the plot, but they just don't have that same, like. They're too much of a well-heeled machine. These guys were not, and that's what made it so intense. Like playing thrash metal like that just sounds so much better like that, you know. So they went into that, and the guitar problems went away, like the feedback problems. I think he switched guitars at a certain point too. No Chris Poland. I was a little sad about that, but at the same time, Jeff Young really killed it. He did a lot of the Chris Poland solos. I'm sure like he learned a couple things from Chris Poland when they were like playing together for a while, like last year and this year. And because, I mean, he played pretty flawlessly some of the, like a lot of the solos that Chris Poland did on the Killing Is My Business material. So that was awesome. Like he had the same tone, or not exactly the same. He didn't play them exactly. He did a lot more tapping and stuff, but very similar like vibrato for those solos. He like definitely like if you watch old clips with him doing the solos, like with when he was with Megadeth originally in the 80s, he didn't play them the same. But this was a lot more accurate, like to the Chris Poland stuff. And that was awesome. So there was no moshing for like the first half an hour or more, and it was really weird. I don't know if that's because the town I live in is kind of like, I don't know if it's because it's like politically correct or something, like sort of, or I don't know why people weren't moshing, but finally people started moshing. I forgot that there is a song. It was God, what song was that? It was on Killing Is My Business, I believe, but maybe it was. It wasn't on. I don't think it was So Far So Good So What. I think they waited. People waited to mosh until Killing Is My Business. I think it was actually the first song off Killing Is My Business. Love You to Death is when they finally started moshing, or maybe it was a song after that. But it was madness. It was so cool. It was just so awesome. It was just intense. And I really missed that in like that style of thrash. Like, you know, you have like the thrash bands that don't have like that melodic element that Megadeth or early Metallica had. And when you hear that mixed together in this kind of thing, it's just it's so intense. It's so crazy. And it blew my mind. It was awesome. It was great. I highly recommend seeing it. The vocals sounded great. I saw some clips early on of the vocal guitarist, and I wasn't as impressed. But like seeing it last night was like, he was spot on. Like even Dave has a lot more vitriol in his voice and stuff, but he's Dave Mustaine. This guy's not Dave Mustaine, but he sounded very close, and in a good way. He was very friendly with the audience too, and didn't start any fights or didn't, knock anybody in the audience or anything like that.
Okay, I found this on the web for its...
So I don't know why the hell my phone just went off, if you heard that, but anyways, it was really good. So I highly recommend seeing it. And one of the funniest things that happened the whole show was there was this kid, I swear he's a kid, like a teenager or young adult, like maybe 20 at most. And red hair, had the same exact face as Dave Mustaine. It was scary. But he jumped on stage and sang with Dave Ellefson, and then they kicked him off stage. It was really crazy. And this kid was like, he was a doppelganger for a young Dave Mustaine. Not only that, but he was dressed exactly like Dave Mustaine, but from like 1990 Dave Mustaine with the flannel and stuff. So it was crazy. It was awesome. So they played both those albums flawlessly. I thought it was just incredible. I mean, just the fervor the anger and the, intensity that they played with, played flawlessly, those albums. It just sounded great. And Killing Is My Business was probably a little bit better in a way because it was really tight. And So Far So Good was tight. Not as tight as Killing Is My Business for some reason, but it was great to hear. I enjoyed So Far So Good So What more, just because we've never heard of those songs like in for 35 years or whatever it's been. I don't even know. Like, it's been a long time since we've heard those songs. And some of the songs they probably never played live, So I know they played an early version of Mary Jane with Chris Poland, which I highly recommend watching as well. It's pretty awesome because it's different. But yeah, they didn't play a lot of those songs for many decades. So it was cool. Dave Ellefson was very friendly live too, and they slaughtered the place. I mean, it was just intense, and the energy is there, with this band. And I know this is going to be a thing that happens, that a lot of bands will have these, like, and I think there was a word for it in this book that I read recently that was like these bands that have like two older guys that were in the original bands or whatever, and then they have two newer guys, and they, especially with the vocals, like that's when these bands can tune in their normal tuning, having a younger vocalist, and like retain a lot of that energy that they had back in the day. Because it seems like, other than drummers, vocalists, drummers can last a long time. It seems like drummers can last longer than vocalists even, though. Like as far as their stamina and stuff, which is weird. You wouldn't imagine that, but drummers seem to like last longer than vocalists. Vocalists just wear their voice out over time. So like, as much as I love Megadeth, I don't really have a desire to see Megadeth live anymore. But this one I could not have missed because the set list alone, of course, but the energy and the enthusiasm they play with. Because I think a lot of bands are going through the motions. They're just like this well-oiled machine that's been playing so long that they just don't have a lot of passion for it. Seems like sometimes, and it shows when you see a band live that they do that. These guys did not have that. They were having so much fun up there. It was incredible, so much fun. Especially Ellefson. It was just the twinkle in his eye. Like it was crazy. Like he was just having so much fun, and it just playing those songs, like it's incredible. It's like a new energy for classic thrash metal, I dare say. I mean, we'll see what happens with their original material, but it was awesome. So as far as a encore, they did not do as many Peace Cell songs as I expected. They did this Riot song, Swords and Tequila. They did Peace Cells, and then they did, what else did they do? I'm trying to think of the other songs. They played Metallica. They played Jump in the Fire, but this is a catch with that. They played Jump in the Fire, if I heard correctly, using Dave Mustaine's original Sex lyrics that he used to have before James Hetfield changed the lyrics to, more like satanic kind of lyrics. It was pretty funny. It was awesome, though. It was great. I mean, they played it just like Metallica does on the Kill 'Em All as far as the musicianship, but the lyrics were definitely Dave Mustaine's original lyrics. Of course, they did the Mechanics or whatever. Of course, they did that. And, that's another song that was turned into a Metallica song, of course. But, I mean, it was incredible. So I highly recommend seeing the show if it comes around. It's not that expensive. It's well worth seeing, especially the clubs, the bigger size clubs that they're playing. It's to me, it's better than seeing Megadeth live in 2023, just for so many reasons. I'm not trying to say that don't see Megadeth. I think Megadeth are fine seeing live, but I just find this certain manic energy that why I like Megadeth or old Metallica too, old Megadeth and old Metallica, is because there was this manic energy to it, and this recreates that. This completely gets back into that energy. Now, you don't have some guy that's like pissed off because he got kicked out of a band and he's on all sorts of drugs and stuff, and that's not why that energy is there, like early Megadeth. But it's nevertheless, it's great. It's like, and they're trying to prove. I think they're trying to prove themselves too, and that makes a band even better because they're trying to prove like we're serious. This is good. When a band has something to prove, watch out. And these guys definitely do, and that's why it was so good. Jeff Young certainly has something to prove because he's if you read interviews with him about Dave Mustaine, he's not a fan of Dave Mustaine, but he did well. He did the songs justice, and he sounded great. Now, I mean, there were a few moments where there was a little bit, there were some mistakes here and there, with some of the songs, like just a couple of times, but overall it was very tight. And for some reason, it's kind of weird to think that Killing Is My Business was like a little tighter, but that's just the way it was. But I don't know why that is, but I think it was those technical issues with guitar and stuff. But you heard everything. There was just a little bit of squealing feedback early on, pretty much, with Jeff, whatever that guitar was. It looks like one of Steve Vai's guitars, sort of, but it was like a neck-through guitar. But yeah, I highly recommend seeing this. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you see this show live, because I dare say it was one of the best thrash, quote unquote thrash shows I've seen. Period. I've seen a lot of shows. This was just incredible, and maybe it's because I'm jaded, biased because I love those albums so much. But it just seeing them live in the original tuning, the original tempo, and with the original vocal timbre too. It's great. But that's really all I got to say for this episode. I just want to do that review. I was kind of an asshole this episode, and I apologize if I offended anybody, but maybe or maybe not. Anyways, that's all.